Hi everyone! Last we were here, we talked about packaging. Now in this video, we get to the exciting conclusion to that video. Hope you enjoy! So in the last video, I talked about all those annoying examples of cover art where all they do is just slap the actors' faces onto the cover. Very boring and doesn't have much artistic value. So what kind of covers do I find artistic and interesting? Well, personally, I think something more like The Goonies is a bit more interesting, which I'm pretty sure this is just poster artwork, but I like, that it's like drawn and not just photos. I think that looks a bit more pleasing to the eye. I'm a big fan of the original Super Mario Brothers film from the early 90s. It's not a great movie, but it's entertaining and enjoyable. And this, released by a label in Australia called Umbrella Entertainment, did this really awesome cover art where it's like nicely hand-drawn in like sort of like a classic Mario art style, but with like the realistic live-action versions on the slipcover. And then on the case itself, you've got the poster artwork, which is really nice. Overall, it's a really sleek-looking release. I even like the clear plastic on it instead of like the typical blue plastic on Blu-ray cases. I don't have a lot in my collection from Arrow Video, but I do have Creepshow 2, and they also use the clear plastic case. Really nice look. I wish more people would use that. It's a lot better than Shout Factory's release of the first Creepshow film, I think, even though Creepshow 1 is a better movie. Another set that uses the clear cases rather than blue cases is the Universal Classic Monsters box set. This one's pretty nice, actually, I think, because the clear cases kind of feel reminiscent of the black and white feel of these classic movies. Aside from the fact that the 1943 remake of Phantom of the Opera was in color. We'll just forget about that part. This is another nice example, though, of a collection that has multiple cases in a box as opposed to the giant case where the discs are all stacked in there. Another thing Universal does great with a lot of their box sets is include these nice little booklets. Then we have the Steven Spielberg Director's Collection. If you couldn't tell by now, Universal really likes doing the whole digibook packaging. This is the third time we've seen that from them. It contains Duel, The Sugarland Express, Jaws, 1941, E.T., Always, Jurassic Park, and The Lost World. And yet again, we've got another nice booklet with it. Shout Factory is a boutique label that often gets the license to cult classic and pop cultural films. Their artwork is terrific, honestly. Rather than do your standard stock photo headshots, you'll get like some really nice and creative drawings and stuff as the cover art, especially with their horror division. You can see here on the Halloween Blu-rays, you even got some wear and tear added into the artwork to kind of almost mimic that retro 80s VHS look. And of course, most of them have reversible cover art with the original poster in it. Artwork like this really sets a scene for what a film is about, rather than just surface-level marketing. Now, sometimes Shout Factory isn't without their faults. Sometimes, for TV shows, especially if it's something obscure, they might only get, limited access to certain art assets and not have much to work with. For example, Kamen Rider Kuuga is a bit bland. It's just the main character, just on a motorcycle, and then there's some ancient symbols in the background. It's really plain and generic. It's not all that great to look at. I think they've done a better job at the artwork on their releases of later Kamen Rider seasons where they had more stuff to work with. Granted, these are just posters that existed in Japan already, but they look a lot nicer and give a bit of an action scene to them. A lot more dynamic. Shout also did the Wallace and Gromit collection. Yet again, just kind of a really boring design of an orange background and the characters plastered in front of it. Just kind of lazy. Also, this release isn't as good as previous releases. While it does have all the shorts on it, there's no bonus features despite previous releases from Lionsgate having bonus features. What was nice about the Shout Factory release was that they tried to fix audio issues where the pitch was wrong in the American version. And while I've seen some people complain about it, I can tell that this is somewhat of an improvement. But again, no bonus features. So now it's pick your poison. Do you want the one where the pitch is wrong and there's bonus features? Or do you want the one where the pitch is almost corrected, but you get nothing else? Just kind of unfortunate, really. I was looking forward to this release, too. So here we have Adventure Time on DVD. Now, this one's really neat because the box was actually made to look like a book from the show, this sort of hero's adventure guide, and it actually includes text and artwork in it as you flip through the pages containing all the discs. This is the kind of stuff I really like about digibook packaging. Not only that, if you flip through the middle here, you even get this nice little pop-up effect of the little land they all live in the show. That's really neat. The only unfortunate issue, however, is that the discs are DVD discs, despite the fact that the series was animated in HD. It really sucks. I'm not the biggest fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe films, but I do have the Phase 1 box set as well as the Phase 2 box set from the UK, and my, are they something interesting. They open up in an interesting way where you've got like this design of the Tesseract, and it just kind of opens up, and you pull out one of those more fold-out type things, but it's binded more like a book almost, with like plastic spindles. There you can see the list of all the films, and you can kind of just flip through all the discs of all the films, and it's kind of neat. They did this for all 3 phases of the Infinity Saga across 4 box sets, which is really impressive. And it sucks that it was only in the UK, but they are easy to import. It even comes with a little pack of bonus stuff, like posters and art cards. That's just really fancy. I really like this. I wish more sets were like this. Now, when it comes to the most quality packaging, no one comes closer to taking the crown than the Criterion Collection. The Criterion Collection, for those who don't know, is a very wonderful distributor. They produce several quality physical media releases of important films, especially foreign films from around the world and through several different time periods. And they give them a very uniform style of packaging. You can always tell them by that little C in the corner and by the spine, which are all individually numbered. They do wonderful artwork that's very minimalist, very interesting to look at, fits thematically with the film. And it avoids all those mainstream tropes like headshots of all the actors pasted around. I also like that they have these very nice clear cases. And they avoid just slapping the Blu-ray logo on them too. It's very clean, very nice. Feels very artistic and not so corporate. You can see the lettering on the case is shaped to be the atomic bomb on Dr. Strangelove here. They do another cardboard sleeve style here with the disc holder. And of course, they've got the character riding the bomb on the inside. Uncut Gems, a film by the Safdie brothers and starring Adam Sandler, is another nice one where they have this really colorful and reflective cover. And on the inside, you've got the booklet, looks like one of their little handouts from the film, and you got like this really nice shiny look of the Furby in the film. Some really unique and interesting artwork on a lot of these. And you got A Hard Day's Night starring the Beatles, and a bit of a simpler cover this time, not as good in my opinion. Double the length though, because it's got a really big booklet in it. Plus it's thicker because it's also a combo pack. It's got both the movie on Blu-ray and on DVD. Infernal Affairs is another thick one, a Chinese trilogy of films. You've got all 3 movies from this series in this set for this one. And you've got a very simple shot of a very iconic scene in the movie where the main character has the villain at gunpoint. Probably the most fun one, though, is this copy of Princess Bride they did. It's in like a nice stitched-up book with pages in it, almost to mimic a fairy tale book like in the movie. Stuff like that's just really nice. I enjoy collecting big movie series sets, even if it's movies that I don't necessarily like all of in the series. So here's the Star Wars set from 2011. This was back when there were only 6 Star Wars movies. It was all 6 in one set, and it's this nice digibook packaging that you flip through. There's artwork of all the films and bonus art for all the bonus discs, and then the nice collage artwork at the very end. Really nice stuff here. Really nice packaging, really sturdy cardboard too. Really well put together. I really enjoy that. Unfortunately, of course, it is just only the first 6 movies, not the remaining 3. So, what to do about those ones? So leading up to the final Star Wars film, Disney re-released all 8 previous films in like this black border, black spine sort of design. And I gotta say, I really like the look of them. I think it's very uniform, very nice, very chic. So naturally, by the time Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker would release on Blu-ray, they'd do the same with it, right? Well, no, just the generic poster with the head count of all the cast just slapped over it. A red spine on the side with little character portraits. I mean, come on, how could you screw that up? This is the only one now that's inconsistent from all the Disney releases. Not even this trilogy is consistent. They did eventually do a sequel trilogy box set along with other prequel and original trilogy box sets for the other 2 trilogies in the UK later on, but nothing for the US. There has also been for a while now a complete Blu-ray set in the UK as well of all 9 films. However, it's missing a lot of bonus features from the original Fox set of the first 6 films. So your choices are either more consistency or less content. I guess in the end I just decided to go for more content. Plus, that artwork on the 2011 Star Wars set is just so nice. Looking at some more inconsistent packaging, we've got the Indiana Jones movies here. Of course, Paramount did the 4-movie collection a while back. But, there was a 5th Indiana Jones movie recently, so where is that? Well, of course, Disney did release that one on Blu-ray. But That's it. It's just on its own. Now, obviously, because Disney owns this one and Paramount owns the previous 4, they can't put it out all in one collection without making a licensing deal because it's different distributors. It's just a little awkward to see a bunch of movies from the same series next to each other, and it just doesn't look consistent. Now, as I said previously, I'm not the biggest fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. On the other hand, I am a big fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe TV shows, which I've got here. Daredevil Season 1, Jessica Jones Season 1, Daredevil Season 2, Luke Cage Season 1, and Iron Fist Season 1. And then unfortunately, Disney stopped putting them out here, so for a while, these were incomplete. Unfortunately, they stopped right before the big crossover with the Defenders. That's unfortunate. But I mean, I guess I'd rather have some of them than none at all. Years later, however, we'd start getting them again. This time, the newer Disney Plus series. The other ones were from Netflix. However, once Disney was setting up Disney Plus, they ended all the Netflix shows. And the Netflix shows were abandoned for a while, until recently. And on Disney Plus, they made a bunch of newer shows. And eventually, they started putting those ones out on Blu-ray. I've got WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki Season 1, Moon Knight, and Loki Season 2. As you may notice, though, however, these are all steelbook releases, rather than in standard plastic cases. As I stated, I'm not really a fan of these. However, Disney has left me no option as these are the only way to purchase these shows. The other unfortunate thing now is if you put these next to the other ones, it's very inconsistent. So yet again, a bunch of corporate stuff in the real world affected consistency of Blu-ray releases. Now, I've always been a huge Power Rangers fan, and thankfully Shout Factory put out these really nice box sets of all the first 17 seasons of the show. There's something so nice about having every season just collected in these lovely sturdy box sets, all individually numbered and in consistent packaging, all the way from Mighty Morphin to RPM. But wait a minute, the first 17 seasons, well, what happened with every season after RPM? Well, seasons 18 and 19, the current seasons that were airing at the time, were actually bought out by Lionsgate, as well as every season onward before Shout Factory stepped in. And so yet again, inconsistent packaging for a franchise. They weren't even doing complete season sets of these at first, just little volumes that contained a couple episodes that you'd see on a store shelf and, maybe you'd pick it up for your kid or something. But, the big collectors, they wanted full seasons. So eventually in late 2012, before the season's run had even ended, actually, we got Power Rangers Super Samurai Season 19 on DVD. Season 19? Why'd they skip Season 18? And why is it in this big bulky box where all the discs are stacked onto one another? Why not a flipper case? Why was this necessary? Eventually, after I assume sales started to decline of all the volume sets, they eventually started to repackage individual volumes in season sets. So all of the discs just have their own little artwork, essentially, with different subtitles attached to them. It's a little annoying and an obvious tell, but hey, it is at least what's advertised as the complete seasons. And then they started to get a lot quicker at these, actually. Almost immediately after all the volumes had been printed, we got Power Rangers Dino Charge, the complete season, a repackaging of all of Dino Charge's individual volumes. It was also around this time they went back and did Power Rangers Samurai, the complete season. Yeah, it's about time. I don't know why they didn't just start with this one. It was the next one after RPM. Then the volumes just straight up got bigger, 2-disc sets with more episodes. Because at this point, it was clear that the bigger buy was going to be when they get combined as a complete series set, so eventually we got Power Rangers Dino Supercharged Season 23. What happened here, Lionsgate? Did your printer die or something? It's like they're not even trying with this one. And then shortly after this, they were all repackaged in these double season sets, so you got the complete story. This made it a lot more convenient to collect these particular seasons. And while the artwork's not amazing on them, it is nice and colorful to look at it. Hey, wait a minute. That's not from Megaforce. Until they decided, hey, let's actually not do that again and just do them individually. So here's Power Rangers Ninja Steel Season 24. At least the artwork's better again. And Season 25, Super Ninja Steel. Yeah, well, that's kind of boring to look at. And that's it. Seasons 26 through 30 never even came out. So in addition to having inconsistent packaging across all the seasons, you've also got seasons that are just straight up unavailable to pick up. Unfortunate. But now that we're done with that, let's move on to Super Sentai, the Japanese series Power Rangers was based off of. Yeah, after they ran out of Power Rangers seasons, Shout Factory decided to release seasons of the Japanese show. This was quite nice when it started. I liked the packaging. They differentiate it from the Power Rangers stuff by having all the castmates appear in their civilian form rather than in costume. They started with Season 16 since it was used for the original Power Rangers. The only issue I notice here is that on the bottom where it says Zyuranger the Complete Series, it should say Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger the Complete Series. It's missing part of the full title. Oh well, not a huge deal, I guess. And with sales doing well, they continued, and we got Season 17, Gosei Sentai Dairanger on DVD. Okay, well, the Super Sentai logo went from a dark red to a yellow, but whatever, I don't mind them changing it up for releases. And this time, they finally said Gosei Sentai Dairanger at the bottom. The full title. You got the cast on the front, although another thing, this time, the discs all have different artwork. Alright, so we're improving a bit. That's nice, I guess. Well, maybe that first release was just a bit more bare bones because they were just getting started. Maybe they'll all look like this from now on. Then we got Season 18, Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. So now the cast is all suddenly in their suits? Well, that just looks awkward compared to the other two. The Super Sentai logo is now kind of like a bright orangey red text. Okay. And then for the discs, we're back to it all being the same image, like with Zyuranger. Why the heck did they go back all of a sudden? It's just really frustrating. Oh well, I'm sure it's not going to get weirder than that. Season 19, Choriki Sentai O-Ranger. Okay, so this one they're in the suits, but now their helmets are off, so we can see their faces again. Another bright red Super Sentai logo. Boy, that yellow really stands out now on Dairanger. And yeah, all the disc artwork is the same. This will never change from here on out. Well, I guess they figured the bright red logo works best for Super Sentai, and they're just going to stick with that from now on. Season 20, Gekiso Sentai Carranger. We're back to the dark red Super Sentai logo. And they're all in suits again, with no faces being shown. I mean, come on, what happened here? Could they not just keep the same pattern going, essentially? Season 21, Denji Sentai Mega Ranger. From here on out, you've got the bright red Super Sentai logo again, the full title is displayed at the bottom, the characters are all appearing in suit rather than showing their faces. Now from here on out, this is basically how they go. They finally got consistent after 6 releases. This becomes even more awkward because obviously they started at Season 16 and eventually later would do seasons from before Season 16. So there's just kind of like this bit in the middle now where it's all kind of awkward. But then, of course, something happened. You see, Saban Brands, who owned the Power Rangers brand at the time, eventually sold it to Hasbro in 2018. And because the Power Rangers and Super Sentai franchises are linked together contractually, that also meant they held the rights to Super Sentai from Toei. At least in North America. So the Saban Brands logo would be placed prominently on the back of each of these releases. However, after 2018, when Saban Brands no longer had the license anymore, well, they switched it over to a Hasbro logo, because now Hasbro had it. So that just adds to even more inconsistencies from 2019 onward. But that's not it. That was only the one release they had the Hasbro logo, because right after that, Hasbro acquired E1, which is the studio that took over for Power Rangers' production. And so then releases after that started saying E1 on the back. Now as of February of 2023, there has actually yet to be another Super Sentai release. They've gotten a lot slower with these. Apparently, Shout has a harder time getting the license from Hasbro for these series, because Hasbro just doesn't keep up on it as much, because they're a much bigger company than Saban Brands and have a lot of other brands that they want to tend to, and it's just not a big priority. But if these continue, the next release, this will be different again, because Hasbro, since that time, has sold E1, meaning there's going to be another different logo on the box. It shouldn't bother me that much. It's not a big deal. It really isn't. But my gosh, I don't think there could be a more inconsistent release. I just want some consistency. Is it too hard to ask? Is it too hard to ask? Whoa, I don't know what came over me there. I was going a little kooky in the end. But I'm all right now. Hope you enjoyed this video about packaging. We'll see you next time. Bye.